Okay, colleagues, it's been some time since I got in touch with you. This is Kalaluk as usual, trying to tackle some topics in supply chain management for beginners in practice. So, we've discussed several topics. Today, I think I promised in the last discussion that I was going to tackle the exports in bond. Now, when we talk about bond, we need to be very careful because this is just a provision that is provided by either guarantors or the banks to secure or to confirm that the person that is moving the goods has got ability to pay for them and he's got some sort of finances in the bank or he's got some guarantee that he's able to put forward in case the goods are lost or in transit. So how do we come about with exports in bond? What happens is customs sometimes would license people or organizations to manufacture goods in bond. So manufacturing in bond means sometimes your inputs that you are adding into your production have not been paid for. You imported them, but the duties and the taxes applicable have not been paid for because you promised the authorities that these goods will not be consumed within the country. These goods, after production, they'll be re-exported. What we are doing is we're just using your country as a point of production. Later on, these goods will be re-exported to a different country. Because of that, there is a provision where you are able to bond the goods, to put them in a bonded warehouse, and that requires a license from customs authorities to establish a bonded warehouse. Apart from a bonded warehouse, you are required to establish a premises that can manufacture in bond, which is a different license also, which is called a manufacture in bond license. So what happens is when you import your goods now from a different country, they will be removed in bond from the border. You won't pay the duties, you won't pay the taxes, the import taxes. But to ensure that these goods are not touched at destination, at your factory, these goods will be entered in a bonded warehouse where a bonding entry will be raised, and then you will be utilizing these inputs or raw materials slowly by ex-bonding them slowly, which means you will have to be processing an entry. Each time you want to use a fraction of the goods into production, you have to process an entry to remove what is sufficient for that time's production. Normally, the customs would require a register to be maintained, whether electronic or manual, so that they are able to follow through their audits to see the goods that were not paid for, how much has been used in production. The goods that have been produced out of goods that have been paid for are in bond. That's the first thing. The goods that have been produced after production in bond are in bond. So when you want to export them, you have to export them in bond, which means nobody should touch them. Secondly, there are situations where you are importing goods into the country for probably just storage, and then you have to re-export to a different country. Such goods, again, you're able to explain to customs authorities that they are accounted for. You want to remove them in bond them, and then export to where you get market as and when the market is found. Such goods that are in bond must remain in bond and exported in bond. So an ex-bond is to produce the goods that will remain in bond, and then an export in bond will acquit the bonding entry. So what will happen is the RIB, the removal in bond from the border, will be acquitted by the bonding entry into the bonded warehouse. The bonding entry into the bonded warehouse will be acquitted by the ex-bonding entry for production. Because the goods are still in bond, the ex-bonding entries will still remain outstanding until they are acquitted by the export in bond. And then they will have to be stamped at exit to acquit the export in bond entry. Export in bond entry must be acquitted at the border by stamping. That's the only way you can run away from payment of duties and taxes. So next time when I come to you, I'm going to explain to you now step by step. Please don't argue. I'm trying to help leave this knowledge with you. The steps I'm going to explain to you step-by-step processes on how to handle this kind of bonding entries. Even the clearing agents that are not very sure on how to go about these things, please get in touch. I'll help guide you on a step-by-step procedure on how to handle the bonded warehouse, the exports in bond, removals in bond, as well as the acquittals of each entry that has been raised. As usual, this is Karaluka Kankolo. Thank you very much for listening.